Shake it up, Fanorama. This is Night Thoughts, the #1 source for everything cars. News and notes, views, and interviews. It's just what you needed. Now, the hosts of Night Thoughts, Donna and Dave.
Welcome to Night Thoughts, the Cars Podcast, episode 66. I'm Dave. With me is co-host Donna. Hi, Donna.
Hey.
And we have 5 guys. Many of you have seen them before. We're moving in stereo.
Woo!
What's happening?
Thank you for having us. You know, I got hung up on Five Guys. I got immediately hungry for a cheeseburger.
I know.
It's the Fanorama 5, man. There we go.
That's right. We are moving in stereo. Well, thanks for having us on. We felt that we couldn't come empty-handed. So we come bearing gifts, and we all contributed a part to this. If you would like to sit back and relax, we're bestowing upon you something new that you can use each week here on your podcast.
Shake it up, Fanorama. This is Night Thoughts, the #1 source for everything cars. News and notes, views, and interviews. It's just what you needed. Now, the hosts of Night Thoughts, Donna and Dave.
Awesome.
Yay, that's awesome.
I love it.
There
How
it
much
is.
do we owe you for
So
that?
awesome.
And we actually recorded it track by track, so we recorded all the music and everything for it.
Yeah, this is
That's so
this is
great.
all us.
Who's the voiceover?
Bob,
I did the voice.
That's Bob.
Really?
That's
what
awesome.
that's what I do for a
Thanks,
living.
guys. That's
has been-
awesome.
All those guitar sounds were on the new Pod Go that I got. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I love
so
it.
use it if you
awesome.
want.
Thank
Don't.
you.
Whatever you feel. Whatever you feel.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah,
we
use
just-
it.
Oh,
We
yeah,
only
heck
spent,
yeah, we'll
12
use
to
it.
24 hours on it, so you can throw it away.
Yeah, just throw it down and say, here you go.
No
All
big deal.
right. Well, we
But we-
kind of got ahead of ourselves here. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves to the audience and tell the audience what you play?
Of course, let's start
Because
with
I have
Dan.
no clue.
Dan, let's go across the stage, starting with
Oh,
Dan.
you
ending
guys
with
gonna
Lars.
start with me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Danny, and I portray Rick Ocasek, and it's fun. I really enjoy this. I really always enjoyed the music of the Cars, and just love doing it.
Next across the front of the stage is Matt.
Oh, hi. I'm Matt. I do the Ben Orr stuff, so I play bass and sing. And I enjoy doing it as well.
And,
Actually, I really enjoy doing it.
And I am Bob, and I do the Elliot Easton. So I'm lead guitar, and on a couple of tunes, I have a keytar. So I'll play a little bit of keyboards here and there, because one thing that we try and do is recreate it as authentically as we can. Actually, it's probably more authentic than the real Cars, because they play to a lot of tracks. We play not to do that. So on heavy keyboard songs, I'll shift and play a little keyboard part here and there. So, and then let's go behind me to the drum throne.
Hi, I'm Noah, and I am David. And I play some of those sometimes. And I used to have as much hair as he did, but then when we met him, this happened.
There you go.
And then the man who needs no introduction.
So,
So
we'll
that's safe
just move
time.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, we can just move on then. So
That's right.
We can't skip Lars.
Who's
Lars.
oh, that would be me, right? Yeah. Hi, I'm Lars, and I play Greg Hawk's part. All the synth, the keyboards, and I love it as well.
And we didn't do anything stereotypical in Mine Germany for a keyboard player. So,
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
Oh, fantastic. So, by the way, Bob, I was going to say when you talk about playing parts that the Cars tracked up or whatever, there was a local band here in Springfield. I can't remember their name anymore, but they would do the whole I don't know what part of the song you call it during Bohemian Rhapsody, the part that Queen would never play. They would do that live, believe it or not, and they were good. Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, there's
great story.
it's a lot of fun to try and recreate it live, because I think one thing that I think that I like about our band is I just really think that there's an energy that translates, because it's really interesting. We talked about this last night as we were like frantically trying to finish up your gift, which was that we really spend a lot of time getting into the nitty gritty of the parts that were actually played. But at the end of the day, we're all still ourselves, and we put kind of our own feel into it. And so the music sounds like the Cars, but I think it has even a different energy than the Cars, because we're different people. But yeah, and I think that it comes across live for sure. I mean, you guys would know from being, we spent some time with you in Boston and Cleveland, and which was an incredible thing to be a part of and to be invited to. So, yeah, I like the end. It's weird. It feels like that we are our own band playing car songs, but it's also interesting. I don't know if it's true for you guys, but when you guys like go into a gas station or something and a car song is playing overhead, it's almost like, oh, look, listen, that's my band.
That's me.
It's not me, but it like you build this relationship with all these songs, and kind of by proxy the people that play them. It's kind of it's a weird space to be in.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be. After playing it for all these years, I feel that when I've seen you, because you have this very distinct level of talent, it just becomes something different where you're so familiar with it, so involved in the legacy because you're interacting with the music all the time. That's really, really noticeable to fans, and I think that people can tell. It's pretty great.
Well, it's not only, just interacting, but we're all continuing the band's legacy, whether they like it or not, being fans and you guys doing the podcast and everything else that you guys do. And then us just playing the music and being involved. I mean, when you take on these songs, it's not sitting down and learning a few tunes and going out and playing, setting up in a bar and playing, at least not for us. It was like tearing songs down. And learning, our deal was, let's learn them note for note as close as we can, and then we can kind of stretch out a little bit. And that's what we've done. I think over the last, how long have we been together now, guys?
And I think we also like take some liberties. Like, I mean, there's some songs where like, it'd be really cool if they did this, and we try to keep it as close to what they did as possible. But sometimes it's like, hey, it would be really cool if they did this. And there's a couple times where Bob and I will do callbacks on the guitar in a couple songs, I think. And, that's kind of also how we bring our own characters or our own playing styles into it. But we do always try to keep it as close to the Cars as possible with this, limited amount of liberties, But
I think it's exciting for the audience when we do that. And really,
yeah, I think
if we also have watched a lot of Cars live stuff, which they are like habitually not like the records. And so for people who have seen the Cars live or have watched the live videos, I think it's fun for in some ways that we do replicate some of the things that they did live. We do some things that only we do, and then there's some places where we really stick to the record, so that way the mind it's all connecting with the thing that they love to hear on the radio.
Yeah. I'd like to go back to the beginning, if you guys don't mind. Before I ever met you in person, I had the pleasure of interviewing you and writing an article about you a few years ago.
Hmm.
And I'm sure we've talked about this because I thought that there was no way I was gonna see you play live because I'm out here and you're out there. And I thought there's no way I'm gonna see them unless they come my way. And seen
2 times.
you 3 times. I've
Twice.
seen you 3 times.
Three
Three
times.
times, yeah.
No, 3
Great.
times.
I saw you at the Rock Hall.
Yep.
At the Velvet Club, I think it was,
That's right.
and for the Cleveland Book Event, and for the Boston Book
And the
Event.
bus- So that's his 3
Yeah, the
times.
music
Yeah,
box.
three.
And then you don't think about all the stalking you've done.
Well,
Done.
right.
That counts.
We don't have to talk about that if we
Yeah.
don't want. I
Yeah.
remember when I was interviewing you, finding out that there was kind of a cool story about how you guys all came together. And it was kind of crazy the way you guys all found each other. So, do you guys feel like talking about that a little bit, telling the story?
Lars will remember.
Yeah,
Don't
Lars.
worry.
Yeah, Lars. I have a distinct memory because it was such a terrible time in my life. But it really started with Lars and Noah first, and then they found my crazy ass.
Right.
Matt's,
We
right.
well, actually, Matt's ass before your ass.
That's right.
Sorry, can we say
Too
ass here?
bad.
No problem. You can say what you want.
Um, yeah, it was. Noah and I were playing in a band before that broke up at that time, and then tried a couple other things or so, and then I was kind of thinking, well, why not? Like, I didn't really know the Cars that much before, but the '80s band that we were in, we played quite a few songs of them, so I started liking it, and then I was kind of thinking, well, there isn't a Cars tribute band. Why not doing something like that? And I put like an ad out, Craigslist or Backpage or something, and then one of the first ones I got was from Noah saying, "Oh, I always thought Cleveland needs a Cars tribute band." so. So he got in there first. We were looking for people for I think a couple months or so, getting some of the weirdest people in I've ever seen. That's a whole nother book you can write, I think.
And we all became band members, which
Oh
was
yeah,
interesting.
it was great.
Yeah.
They came to the Cars tryout, and they're like, "Yeah, I love the Doors." I'm like,
Right, I remember that.
Did you
Yeah.
guys show up with the ukulele?
No,
that
that
was
didn't
Greg
happen.
Hawk.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, yeah, it was crazy. And then Matt responded too, I think, or we kind of met on Craigslist. He was looking for something,
for a keyboard
and
player,
and we met. We just said, okay, let's just meet, let's talk about it, and we kind of talked about music a little bit, and then kind of that idea came out. What about a Cars tribute band? And then he was like, "Oh, that sounds
Genius.
good. Let me call a buddy of mine. He might want to play guitar, something like that."
Well, how I remember it happening was I had just been through a terrible divorce, and I was in a really bad spot mentally. But I knew I wanted to play music again, and my idea was that I wanted to form an original band. And I was listening to stuff like indie, like Australian, like sludgy rock, but it had like a lot of keyboard parts on it. I'm like, Matt, I've got this idea for a band. I think I need you to find me a keyboard player. And he goes, "Can I play guitar?" I said, "Absolutely. I think I'm going to call it a new Pearl Harbor." And it's like, "Sounds uplifting, dude. I'll see what I can do."
No, in my head, I said, it sounds terrible. Let's go find some band people to help equalize these thoughts.
Get people.
I
So
need to
we
cancel these thoughts out.
so we meet Lars out, and he's somewhere in the conversation he goes, "Well, yeah, me and Noah were my buddy who lives in my neighborhood. Noah live in the same neighborhood, by the way."
yes, I can see his front door from the back of my house. So
Right.
Without
So
without
he-
the telescope.
yes,
Yeah, that's where they set it up.
hey, that's another story.
So he tells us this, and then talks about the Cars tribute band, and Matt and I looked at each other. Well, that's kind of genius. They had so many hits, they had so many songs, and there aren't. At that point I didn't know of any Cars tribute bands, so I thought if there's a band that needed to be tributed, that was that. So at the time it was like placation for Bob was like, well, maybe we'll play Cars tunes until we start writing our own songs. And
And I'm
So-
like, hey, I hope we play we keep playing the car songs.
so Lars leaves. I start smoking Matt's cigarettes.
Yep.
And I said, this is crazy. So we set up a meeting that we were going to play, and I looked at him. I said, so these guys are in Brunswick, which is, I live in Brunswick. He lives in the next town over. So we're all in this, like, within 5 to 10 mile radius of each other. I said, and we'd been playing in the scene as long as they have, and I had no idea they existed. So my thoughts were like, what are the chances they're any good? And then
We thought the same thing.
Right. I'm sure you did. Like, who the hell are these guys? So we go set up in Noah's basement, and we're like, well, and we talked about 3 songs we're gonna play, and then we went into just what I needed, and it sounded like it was like the Cars. I mean, it was like, I was like, everybody looked at each other like, oh, all right, well, I guess this is it. And so and then it just kind of it spawned off from there. And then Matt played bass out of necessity because I promised him that he'd play guitar in this next band that we were going to do. And
Stole a couple strings and left them with 4.
yeah,
Well,
But,
it's
yeah.
interesting. It's interesting that that's okay. It's interesting that you're talking about the fact that there wasn't any Cars tribute bands at the time. I went on Facebook just to see how many or Facebook and the internet, see how many Cars tribute bands I could find. How many do you think there are?
I think we've counted what, almost 15 or 16 now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
I
only
went through. There's let's start with the Drive. You got Drive New York, which is Mary Beth Cronin.
Yep.
Drive. You got Drive Colorado, which is Alan. Drive Minnesota, which I just found them. And then there's Driven. So you get Drive, Driven. And then Just What I Needed. There's 2 of those.
Yep.
And then there's Just What You Need.
Yes.
How you doing? And then you've got, yeah, I'm just what you needed. You got 2 Candy O's, one in Portland, one in California. A Touch and Go, Panorama, You Might Think, Best Friend's Girl, Let's Go, Cruiser, Double Life, Heartbeat City, my personal fave, and Grand Theft Auto. Now that's a different one. And then you've got Carpool, Rusty Cars, and they're out of Auckland. They also do a Cure cover too. They do like half Cars, half Cure.
Okay.
2 different bands called Used Cars, Driving Cars, not driving, just driving. Driving Cars,
Driving Cars.
Stolen Cars, which I guess goes with Grand Theft Auto. The Muscle Cars, that one's pretty awesome. And
We were thinking muscle cars. ourselves. We were going to go out
Yeah.
with just shirts off and just play. You know?
Yeah,
Like a Man of War
And then
cover
the-
band.
A Man of War cover band.
KA.
Blow your speakers and rock and roll.
There you go. And then you've got the Cars, KARZ, which
Yes.
I thought was very, very interesting.
That's
But then
clever.
there is another Moving in Stereo
There's
that
a
I found.
couple.
It's from out of Canada.
Right.
There's one in Canada. There's one in LA. There's one.
Oh, really? There's more.
There was
Wow.
another one somewhere else.
I
But
I
we
figure
were
in the
the-
Canada one, you can
we're-
just, if you can get them to change their name to Moving in Stereo, eh? That'd be a little bit different.
Hey,
we were the first moving in stereo, I believe.
From
we
what I've
actually were
seen.
not.
Well, actually not.
We were
Right.
not the first. And when Bob said the first, there was no Cars tribute band, we met locally because,
Yeah.
Yeah.
of course, when we put a tribute band together, we're thinking regionally, like our area. So,
Yeah.
and then, of course, as soon as you mind, we got to find a name. And that's when you start finding all the Cars tribute acts. You're like, well, we can't call ourselves Candy O, and we can't call ourselves this out of respect for the other bands, even though they're on the other side of the country. You don't know where the band's going to go. Are we going to stay here? Or are we going to go travel all over the place and play?
Yeah.
So then you're trying to find a name, and you don't want to step on toes. You know, you want to be respectful for all the other bands out there doing the same thing.
Was the Boston show the farthest away you've gone from your area?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
What year did you guys form?
2013.
2013. Okay.
Oh.
Perfect. did you find that when you were first starting out, you have small audiences and took some time to pick it up?
I would say actually for a new band that just started out, I mean, we did play some smaller gigs in the beginning, and we always really had a good crowd. I
It
mean, it
was-
was like even that one of the first gigs at Rico's, you know, and there were so many people
I'm
there,
sorry,
you
I've
know,
got
it
a
was
kid
like,
emergency.
wow.
You couldn't move when we played there.
Yeah.
That's back when we would, you know, when you're
Dancing
starting
pole
out,
and
you're
all.
like, you don't start playing big stages unless you're signed to some kind of management team, which we've never done. We've always just done it ourselves. So you get into with a booking agency, they'll usually get you on bigger stages if you're willing to travel, especially. But we were playing in bars, but we would pack the bars back then. But you know, we kind of got away from that because we all have day jobs. In
Yeah.
essence.
So I was thinking about if you guys ever want to go to an alternative band name. And Danny, you're pretty tall, right?
Yeah, about 6'2".
Okay, you'll work. Now you ready for this name? You're going to give me credit if you take it. Stretch and the Limos.
Oh my gosh.
Right? You'd be Stretch, Danny. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think that's a great name.
I love it.
The cars.
Love it,
too.
yeah.
If you
I'll
have
start on the
Rusty
logo right
car-
now. Start a logo right now. And how do you spell that so I can change one thing and then claim it as my own?
I wanted to mention too
Yeah.
that you guys got to play House of Blues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what was that like? Can you give us an idea?
That
That
was the
was-
first time that I saw you guys was at House of Blues. Was that the first time you guys played it?
Yeah, that
That
was
was-
opening
was the
for
first big
Warranted.
one.
So
Sorry.
speaking of that, the way Danny said that, let's take a step back real quick and we'll go right back into House of Blues. So at the time, Danny joined later on.
Yeah, Lars
before that.
approached me in the
Right.
beginning, right, Lars? When was that? When you guys
Yeah.
were starting off?
Yeah,
And I was in this tribute band at the time, and I couldn't wait to get out of that band. But anyway, that's a whole nother book. But
Yeah, there were some things that you posted and that you were, I think actually you quit with them like at some point and then you get back with them and then you
Yes.
quit again. And I think in that meantime or so, like I was playing with that country band back then and
Oh, that's right,
you came out and I'm like, hey, you know, we're doing this Cars tribute band. You know, you said at some point that you were a big Cars fan, you know,
yeah.
and I guess that planted a seed.
Yeah, so our original lead singer, Patrick, we had him for a couple of years
Mhm.
and he had fine. It just, once we found out Danny was available, we just being aware of Danny and kind of how he worked in the scene, everybody knew who Danny was and everybody knew how talented Danny was. So we just saw it as, and it was nothing, like I said, Patrick busted his ass for 2 years. It's just band politics stuff. You know, you're constantly trying to improve what you're doing. So if you see an opportunity to do that, that's what we did. So he saw us at that, as you mentioned, the House of Blues. So he got to see us there. And I think that, you know, Danny, did that spark interest for you at that point or what?
I was like blown away by you guys. I was like, wow. I was like, man, this is awesome. Boy, I wish I could be a part of this. And I didn't push. And one day Lars just gave me a call. I think it was fairly quickly after that, and just said, hey, would you be interested in, you know, playing guitar? I was like, you know, I started out on guitar and I haven't played in a while. So I says, I think I can do it. And I didn't think I was going to be able to. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm that, you know, that good of a guitarist anymore, you know, being on bass for so long. But, you know, it came right back right away. And plus, you know, just loving the music, you know, just made it so much easier to pick up. But yeah, I think I struggled a little bit there.
And
Our first few
I would
practices.
say probably not really, but we knew as soon as, at least I wouldn't want to speak for everybody else. Bob and Noah might have something to say, and Lars, but you know, we weren't in a desperate, you know, position. We already had someone that was doing that role. We just thought, okay, let's bring Dan down. This would be great if it worked out. So we brought him down, and he just knew as soon as he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the guitar playing, so he had all the basic stuff down, and we're like, well, that's fine. He'll just rehearse that, with show him his parts, and then
And-
extra parts and stuff that we knew. And then we're just going to go from that point. We knew right then and there that, you know, that the change was going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the
it was
guitar
some-
parts, it was just mostly he had to knock off a little rust, and that was about
That was
it.
And Patrick was working out. But he had gotten into another band, so we were starting to have some scheduling issues and rehearsal issues with him, and which kind of opened up the door to start thinking about maybe we need to look around. Then Dan came available, and yeah, when he opened up his mouth, that really sold it for me, and that was kind of because Matt does such a great job with Ben. And I don't think either one of those guys sound exactly like them, but the way they sing reminds you of them more so than. And I think that's where we really. I think that's why people love us, is because the way those guys sing naturally kind of fits those things, so they don't have to like push or force like an affect or anything like
Right.
that.
Right.
Where just them being them, we sound. We remind you of what the Cars sound and felt like, and there's not like this jarring like, oh, that voice is completely off or wrong. I think you can listen to us and just kind of believe that you're at a Cars concert.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder if
That
there's
cold.
is there any falsetto Cars tribute bands? I'd be interested.
Right.
Well, I think that because you
Falsetto.
guys,
Oh, there you go.
because you guys have always been so set on recreating the sound of the music and the feel and the flow that you don't have to resort to things like wigs or, you know what I mean? That's what stood out to me when I heard you play live the first time. Is that I could just close my eyes and be immediately transported. I felt like I was having this experience that I had missed out on with the Cars. It was amazing. It blew me away. And you didn't have to, prod me, or I don't know, you didn't have to pretend. It was your playing that made me believe it. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And that was the idea of starting, is that, and I'm not taking, that's not bad mouthing anybody that uses wigs or, like on costumes. We didn't want, but we made a conscious effort not to do that. We said, okay, let's learn the music as close as we can. After we feel comfortable with it, we can have a little bit of liberty here. We can stretch things out, because Bob and I have played in bands for 30 years now, 25 years.
And they were always improv. Like,
it was
always,
you were allowed to jam. It wasn't like, you're allowed to stretch out on stage. So we found little instances, because we still like to do that. And there's moments in the music where you can do that they may not have done, that they didn't think of it. We're like, well, why don't we do this? And some songs fade out. We can't fade out on stage. So we had to learn how to cold end these songs or go into the next song. But yeah, I consciously I wasn't going to put on a blonde wig. It's just not happening. I mean, you can shave my beard and put a blonde wig on, I'm still not going to look like Ben Orr. It's just not happening.
I still wouldn't ask you out anyway. So
Yeah. Well, Donna, you hit the nail right on the head. I remember being in Cleveland, and I had that primo seat right up front. I was right in front of Bob, which was awesome. Because I got, I just watched him play. So,
it's
and
hard, by the way.
but I closed my eyes.
It's hard.
I closed my eyes and just could hear every single note that I knew that I was supposed to hear. And same thing with the vocals and everything else, just the whole thing. You could just close your eyes and you could picture it there. And I know you guys don't want to say, bad things or whatever, but in my view, the only person who gets a pass on a wig is Mary Beth, because, she needs the wig. She's doing something that no one else does.
Yes.
But once you have a wig wrangler on your team, you might as well forget it. It's hokey. You've lost me. I have no interest in coming to see you, but you guys aren't about trying to be, carbon copies of them. You're, based in musicianship, and your musicianship is way above other ones that I hear. So that's why, we're such a big fan. It's, you guys have just blown people away.
Now, you guys do add elements to the stage appearance that are expected on stage. Like Matt has his Music Man silver bass. Lars has a T-shirt with the arrow graphic that Greg wore, and I think Danny, you have that pink guitar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I have the pink guitar, and I
And
also
leather
have.
pants, leather pants.
back
Don't forget the
there.
I've
leather
got
pants.
the leather pants. Yes. I've also got the Dean that he uses, and I'm in the process of getting it painted white. Just have to pull the trigger on it, and being, I have a family and things, it's like I can't just go, spend extravagantly like some rock star. So I have to just kind of, when I get the little money to put aside, I'll go ahead and get the Dean painted white, like, Rick,
But that's what we
And-
wanted to do, and it is. Some of it can be an issue. We don't have a ton of money to spend on, so we don't make a ton of money either. So what we do is we try to find, like you said, the T-shirt that Lars wears. Well, it's easy. Let's create it, and we'll get a transfer, and we'll put on a T-shirt. They're like subtle things that maybe other bands weren't doing that we think pays homage to them, and it shows you that we pay attention to the videos, and we pay attention to the music, and we
Exactly.
those are the things we try to do within reason. Like I said, my wife would kill me if I went on and bought, a brand new real Stingray. If I bought Ben Stingray, it's going to cost me, $5,000 or $6,000, and she would kill me if I did that. So I had to go get the newer Stingray and then have it painted like Danny did.
And it's too like more about the, especially like with clothes, like what's more in the spirit of like what, like for me, like what would Greg wear, right? Like I had this T-shirt with the Japanese characters, which wasn't exactly what he wore, but there's several occasions where he has that, and I think we saw it like in Boston when David Robinson was there, and he came down into the green room, and he was immediately saying, "You must be playing keyboards, right?" so that's basically it, I'm not looking anything like Greg, I have to lose like 150 pounds or so to even get close, but it's
Chop
you
off
know.
2 feet. And
Yes.
Yeah, that too.
Well, we were going to ask him to play on his knees, and that didn't work.
just because of the weight of the band, we had considered at one point calling ourselves the Trucks,
Yes.
or something.
actually, there is one called the Truck. I've
big,
seen them.
big cars, or
The Truck.
They changed.
Yeah.
Didn't they change to?
They changed.
They changed to. Was it Heartbeat City or what
No,
did they?
it's Best Friend's Girl.
Best Friends.
That's right.
Girl, that's-
Oh, okay.
yes.
As you can tell, we're up on it.
It's like Dave said. The thing is, you have the musicianship to back it up. You don't have to try to do all this visual stuff to become more like the Cars. Well, I mean, you don't have to have the visual appearance to make your performance believable. You nail the guitar solos, you hit all of those drum fills, your voices, and the way you present your songs. I mean, that's what makes it believable.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a Cars experience.
it's not like we abandoned. It's not like we roll out there in t-shirts and blue jeans. We definitely tried to match the aesthetic of what it felt like to watch a Cars video or watch a Cars concert.
Right, for sure.
And but the focus on the music. And here's something that I didn't understand until we went out and played these songs, especially in this area, because we're from we're in the Cleveland area. This is Ben's hometown. Rick spent some time here, so we get people to our shows that were friends with Ben and or family with Rick, and I don't think I realized the importance of what we were doing. It certainly was fun. We loved the songs, but I don't know that I certainly didn't connect with the idea of we're doing important work for these people, and we're doing important work for the people that wrote these songs to keep them alive in a live sense, where you can go enjoy an entire evening of these songs. And so it's knowing that responsibility that and we're constantly self-scouting. We're constantly going back and listening and watching our performances and going, you know what, that's not exact. We should go back and listen to the song again, because I think there's a part that we're missing, or that we're not doing right, or we're hitting in the wrong spot. We're constantly working on improving that part of it, the musical aspect of it. And also I signed up for Noom, which is that weight loss app. So hopefully, we can kind of reduce the amount of weight that's on the stages, because that becomes a little more expensive with all the structural stuff that they'll have to do to the stages to accommodate that.
Yeah, people complain about the rider.
Yeah, especially when you jump off the stage too, kind of helps.
We need, yeah. When I jump off the stage and shatter 3 bones in my foot,
You laugh.
like,
Oh,
like
geez.
I did that. I
True
did that.
story.
True story. I didn't shatter the bones, but man, I did that. I did that at a show. I jumped off a stage, and like I
Bob,
couldn't walk for a
Tell the
week after
truth,
that.
you just jumped over a cord.
And that's it. It wasn't like so. I think the stage drop from the stage to the dance floor was 8 inches. So it wasn't a grand jump, but I did get a little air, and then when I came down, like the foot was starting to get sore, but then I
Foot
couldn't.
dissolved.
And I'm like, oh man, we're not 20. We're in our 40s. Gotta stop but sometimes, the one thing about being in bands, man, people buy you drinks. And second, third set, you're 3-4 hours in, and then you're like, yeah, I can still jump off a stage. And then next day you're like, I'll call up Matt like, dude, I totally can't walk today.
I'm like, there goes practice. Guess what? Bob broke his foot, guys. Great, no practice. Awesome.
So thanks to Bob.
I've known Bob too long. There's no mother in me towards Bob. I'm like,
No.
there you go. Way to go, break my foot.
Way to go,
Maybe
jackass.
I shouldn't have walked so fast.
Wasn't that even at Club Velvet? Wasn't it there?
Then I didn't jump off there. Did
Oh,
I?
is this?
No, that was at
Is
Lobby's.
this Cindy's?
That was at Lobies in Canton.
Was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought it was
Lobies.
Oh yeah, it was Lobies.
So thanks to Bob, we don't play bars anymore.
That's
The real
dangerous.
drink.
You need to get me on stages that are far too frightening to jump off, so that way I never try that again.
Hey Bob, you know what we should tell them? We should tell them about the time we were at the OFEA, and you.
Dave, you know what? I'm
This
sure
was
they're going to have
Danny-
embarrassing,
this
ask
was-
us about embarrassing stories. I'm
This
sure.
was Danny's first
story.
gig with us. Danny's first gig with us ever. And so the OFEA is a big trade show that is at this Kalahari in Sandusky every year. And they have 2 stages going. And so on the showcase nights, they are rushing bands up and off stages. When one band quits, the other one immediately lights up and plays. So like sometimes like actually checking to make sure that everything's right when you're supposed to start, there isn't that kind of time. And I didn't really go through my checklist. So I go to hit the first chord, nothing. It's like and Dan's looking over me like, what the hell? I'm like, ah! Like,
Nothing comes out. And here's the part that, so this thing, part of
magic.
that Santana tribute finishes up. They're like, ladies and gentlemen, moving in stereo. So he hits the strings and nothing happens. And Danny, instead of hovering up for Bob and playing his guitar parts, just leaves me on an island on bass. So I'm trying to play guitar parts in my bass with it. It was awesome. It was. I learned a lot about Dan that night.
and then finally figured out that the guitar's a lot louder when you plug it in.
So there's video of it of Bob running around behind his amp to plug the stuff in and get things going. And he came out. It was almost like a Spinal Tap, where he finally came out. And he was like,
I came out of the pod.
I had the best seat in the house. I'm just watching Bob fiddle with all these wires.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, getting off track. Go with your. I know you got
Have
more
to find
questions
that
for us.
footage.
If not, we'll tell tall tales and funny stories all night.
Oh my gosh, that would be great. I would love that. But yeah, I do want to go back. Actually, I should have done this at the beginning. You guys mentioned that you have other jobs and other things that
Yeah.
you do, and I know that you have families. So I was wondering if we could just take a minute and go around to each of you, and maybe you can tell what you do for a living and talk about your families if you want to. So
Sure. Bob, go for it.
Sure.
I work for America's new romantic piano sensation, Jim Brickman. You can find his soothing CDs everywhere in the world, and I produce his nationally syndicated radio show. I produce his concerts and any like video live streams, podcasts. That's what I do.
nice.
And then I do voiceover, and I have commercial work that I do on the side. I am married to Angelina. She is this is my third wife, and she's my favorite by far.
Oh
And
gosh.
she is a wonderful person. I just love her to death, and I'm so happy to finally have this family. She has two kids, and that she brought. And then I have three, but they're all older. They're like 22, 23, and 25, and they're already starting to get their careers figured out. So it's yeah, life is good. I have zero complaints, and
Good.
yeah,
Good.
it's fun.
Noah, what about you?
Oh, I am a 20+ year teacher. I teach
Oh.
elementary and junior high at a private school. I've been there my whole career. I'm making a career change here in the next couple of years, going into radiology. So I'm doing double duty.
Wow.
I am married. My wife, Kathy, she's a RN. She works at the Cleveland Clinic down at the main campus. So she's always busy. So basically, I'm married up. So it gives me time to be able to go and play and figure out what I want to do when I grow up. I have 3 kiddos. 2 of them are in School of Rock, so they follow with music. And my oldest is going to school to be a nurse now too, as well.
Wow. What instruments do your kids?
My daughter sings, so she does vocals. And then
Okay.
Logan, my son, he, as Bob puts it, he's a triple threat. He plays guitar, bass, and drums.
Wow.
And I'll have to admit, he's definitely getting better than I am at that age.
Yeah, we were going to have this talk with you, Noah. I don't know if your son is Phil.
He's hired.
Yeah, we're just, we figured this would be the
But
best
this
time
is
of
probably the
night.
best time to
Yeah.
do it.
You heard it
There's
here
still-
first, folks.
There's
Yeah,
still
he
a
can
patera
play-
in the band, but it's now
As long as
Logan.
I'll take a cut, that's fine.
Finders
Could be
fee.
his, yeah, you could be his agent, his man.
There we go. I'll be his roadie. You guys got a new roadie.
How about you, Dan?
I work with the Laser Enema Foundation.
Oh,
No, I'm
jeez.
kidding. I'm.
Laser enemas.
I don't know where that came from.
Oh my
No.
goodness. What the heck?
For some reason, that didn't even like strike a chord with me. I just
You
We're
have
let it
another
pass.
Yeah.
doctor's appointment we didn't know about?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, laser.
I don't know.
No, you were 50.
They do all kinds of shit with lasers nowadays.
Do you have to bend for that, or
Oh, jeez.
Very
You have to-
careful.
Do you have to fast after no eating or drinking after midnight? for
No
the laser
fasting
enema?
red
involved in this
Jell-O.
process, fellas.
Oh, Dan.
Okay, for real, Dan.
No, actually, I'm an electrician, and I've been an electrician since I was 12 years old. And my summers would come, and my dad would say, "Get in the van, you're going with me." And I didn't have any schooling. I just learned from him, and running out to the van, trying to grab whatever a Scotch lock was or whatever. Just kind of picked it up that way. And also, inspectors telling me you can't do that. So that's how I kind of learned. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got 3 kids. My boys they've got the musical ear that I have, where they can hear something and just, like figure out instantly on an instrument, but they don't want to play. And I can't get them to do that. But my daughter, she sings in every day, like we'll go karaoke, and every time she goes out and sings, she just like blows my mind how good it gets. I'm like, how did you get that good? So, yeah, that's it. And the music, I play in a couple other bands, but it's just like one band. I think we play maybe once a month, and then another band I just kind of fill in. I'm a backup bassist for this other band, and they throw me a few gigs a year, and it's all 80s stuff. So I enjoy it. So
I remember that you were in a Kiss cover band, but I can't remember who you are.
I was Gene Simmons.
That's right. That's right.
I would show you the tongue right now, but the floor is a little bit dirty, so I'm
Gross.
Oh, my God.
We're good. We're good, Danny.
It put a sticker on the tongue.
Cue the outro, folks.
Okay, Lars, you're up.
Sure. I work here in Cleveland for a software company as a product owner, basically managing work for development teams. I'm here with my wife Stephanie, who's the reason I'm here in Cleveland now, not in Germany. We're married since 2008, and my 9-year-old Braden, who's a very active 9-year-old, especially now we're staying at home, and unfortunately he has a broken leg, so he can't go out and play that much right now for another week. And since last Saturday, we also have a now 10-week-old puppy tearing up the carpet.
Oh, get ready
That's
for
what
it.
I was
man.
talking about when I told you when you got the puppy. I'm like, good luck, bud.
Oh yeah,
It's better when they're a year old and you adopt them.
Only
you know,
money.
the first day I was like, oh, we hit the jackpot. She's so, so laid back. 2 days in, they do have a lot more energy than I
Oh,
than
yeah.
I thought. So
And I
I'm
forgot
definitely
I forgot to mention my cat. I have a cat
Yeah.
too.
And
And a dog.
and for me, my wife wanted a dog, and I did not want a dog, so we got two. And
We have
But-
a dog, but it wasn't my idea, which is why I mentioned the cat.
Can I jump in? I have a dog too, but he's really mean.
Yeah.
Oh,
He looks nice,
Yeah.
but he's pretty evil.
okay, Matt, let's talk about you. And I confess, I was happy to save the best for last because I just love your story with Natalie. And
Oh.
I feel special because I was there when you guys reconnected. So I really want you to talk about that.
I thought you meant my career.
Oh,
No, I'm
yeah,
just
of
kidding.
course,
there's
of
nothing-
course.
no. So we'll go to, well, I'll touch on like the job and all that stuff first, and I'll go right into what you want to, what you're alluding to. So yeah, I basically do media production like Bob does. So it's audio, video, and anything else, a lot of graphic work and things like that. Sports, stuff like that. And then I have a beautiful, lovely wife named Natalie, and I married into 3 awesome kids at 9, 13, and 16 now. And we have 2 puppies. We decided to get 2 puppies at the same time, right around the end of November. They destroyed my house, but that's okay because we've already factored in the new floor we got to get now, and the new furniture we got to get. But yeah, you want to allude to a story that about Natalie and I. So real quick, my wife and I knew each other when we went to elementary school together. Now I hadn't seen her since 1987. So we played the gig for the Hall of Fame weekend. We played the at the Velvet Room, which no longer exists, by the way. It's like the Neon Room or something now. MGM bought the casino. So the Velvet Room is kind of a, like a club stage setting. So we went in there and we played for all the you guys that came into town to see the cars get adopted.
It was
Well,
awesome.
she came to the show, and I had only talked to her a couple times through like Messenger on Facebook. I had these people from 20 years ago on Facebook, and they want to be, some people you talk to, some people you don't. So there would always be like the, hey, happy birthday thing or whatever. It was just whatever, react to something you had posted. So we were done playing and wrapped it up, and her friend apparently came over and was like, some lady was like waving me over to the stage, and I'm trying to pack my stuff up. And everybody knows me, I'm kind of like, okay, once the show's over, I'm like, all right, let's chill out and talk to some, do whatever, but I need to get my stuff packed up. So I'm immediately like, okay, what do you want? So I went over there and she's like, hey, stay here for a second. She wants to talk to you. So then she's calling Natalie, my future wife, over, and she was kind of like, we should get out of here. I shouldn't talk. So basically we met again at that show, and we've been together ever since. And we got married last year and bought a house, and we have a whole new life together through the band, basically.
So sweet.
Yeah.
So awesome. I love it.
It's awesome.
And of course, I just love all your wives. I think they're all amazing. I've gotten to meet them between Cleveland and Boston. Noah, have I met your wife? I try to remember. Was she at Boston?
Yep, she was in Boston.
that might have been his mistress. That might have been his mistress.
Oh,
Hey, whoa.
wow. Whenever you post about your anniversary with Natalie, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I was there. And it just
Yeah.
makes me feel connected to your story and makes me feel really special. So I just,
Yeah, and it's funny, like, I'm not going to divulge the first conversation that we had there on stage, but I will say that I was told, I was busting her balls, man. Immediately, I'm like, hey, I remember you. You're the person that said this to me back in 3rd grade. And I kept like a
Oh,
she was like, I'm like, it's totally fine. I'm just kidding, man. It's fine. I'm like, if you can handle being, razzed by me in the first 30 seconds of talking to you after 25 years,
Probably gonna work.
Yeah.
I'll get you a ring.
I'll get you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's a great story. So I know with this last year, it's been crazy because of the COVID stuff. But how often do you guys usually play out?
What do you think? Like once a month if you average it out, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, around there.
But yeah, 12 gigs a year, all bunched between like April and September.
Yes. And that's still our plan. We still
Yeah.
don't. So we'd all played in bands for so long. I feel like I'm talking too much, guys. So if somebody else.
No,
No,
you're
no,
fine.
fine.
It's all right.
You're good.
No, that was kind of the plan because all these years, I guess I'm speaking for all you guys, of lugging. I'm just lugging shit in and out of a bar in the middle of February and snow and cold and
It's the
4
worst.
sets of music and getting paid like gas money and maybe dinner for you and your wife the next night. We
Wait,
wanted
what
to
band was that? I don't ever remember getting paid in these.
right. We wanted to get away from that because one thing, if you play every weekend, I'm speaking for myself. I love to play, but I love to play when I really want to play. And if you do it to me, if I got to play 3 nights a week, I'm not going to enjoy playing. It's just, I know I'm going to get burnt out on it.
Mhm.
And one thing we didn't want to do is get
Okay.
burnt out on music that we loved. And as Bob alluded to earlier, yeah, it wasn't our original idea. Like I wasn't growing up going, man, I got to do a Cars tribute band. But we grew up with the music. We had all the albums. We had all the tapes. As soon as we got back into it, we fell in love with all of it.
Oh
So
yeah.
once you commit to the music, I don't want to burn myself out.
Mhm.
I didn't want to burn myself out. And I think we committed to going, hey, let's not play in the winter so much. Let's play when it's warm and when there's people out and about. Unless
and we
it's a private gig or something, but you guys take it from here.
Right. We also kind of pick and choose the events that we like want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, we get offers to play things. I'm like, maybe that's not a fit for us. Let's not do that. But I mean, it's more or less just quality of the events that we're playing. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And which is why the bars kind of just got knocked out. I mean, the problem is with the bar is like you go in and you're just like a cover band. You can play all night. You're playing different people's music. But when you go into a bar and bars don't advertise what is coming in there to play, well, most of them don't. So now you have people walking in, they're just out ready to party. And they may not be a Cars fan or they may not be a Bon Jovi fan or you know what I mean? So when you're a tribute band, sometimes it's not good for a bar in a tribute band. And plus, I think it kind of, as a tribute band player, I think it kind of devalues your band.
Yeah, and I think it's,
When,
I don't
when
think
you have a
it's-
big event
right.
like Rockin' on the River, Rock the Lock, or some of the places that we play, and I say, well, why do I want to hire you guys when you're just going to be playing at Bob's Bar down the street?
Yeah.
So I think we just pick the events that we think will be good for us, and so I mean, I'm not all about playing every weekend, just like Matt says. I want to play and just enjoy what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I think too, about speaking a little more on not playing bars, and I just don't think I don't think it's great environments for the fans, especially since the fans that come to our shows are basically our age. I mean, we get some younger ones, and sometimes it's amazing. You go play these big festivals, and there's like, remember when we were at Rockin' on the River, there was this pocket of like young 20-somethings that were singing along to "Don't You Stop," like some of the album cuts. I'm like, wow, this is great, young Cars fan.
Yeah.
But I think that when you play bars, you have the built-in crowd of the bars that don't care, and they're ready, and they're there to get wasted and start fights and stuff like that, which we've had happen. And then at some point it's like, is this really where we want to have Diane come? And Diane is one of our biggest fans.
Mm.
She was really good friends with Ben, and honestly, if there's one person I could single out why I play in the band, I play in the band for Diane.
Yep.
So I kind of think when we're
Yeah, she's very special.
when we're thinking about so when we're thinking about where we want to play, like, do we want to drag Diane in here? And if the answer is no, then we rethink it, and then that's why we try and really play really good quality, nice venues that treat the that really in the reason we're there is because their focus is the fans as well. And when you've got that going on, it's a win-win-win for everybody. And that's why we try and do it.
So sweet about Diane. Now, you met her for the first time at, was it the Boston Book or the Cleveland Book Event?
I'm
What
I'm trying to remember what the timeline was. If that was
was
because
it before that? I don't know. It may have been
We
one of.
we met her at the book event
Yeah.
at the Music Box.
Okay.
and then she does not miss a show. That's local.
Aw,
She doesn't miss it. If she's feeling good and she's in good health, and her
Yeah.
granddaughter come out and our granddaughter is also our biggest fan, and yeah, so that's why I say I didn't realize how important it was, and to her this stuff and us doing it is important.
Yeah, and we became like, even Natalie, I can speak specifically for us, are tight with Neil and with both of them, because she'll come and visit my wife at work now, and say hi to her and talk, and they stop in, they make it a point, and they're asking how we're doing, and how's, if she talks to me, how's Bob doing, how's Danny doing, how's everybody doing, and Bob touched on it way earlier when he said, when we started playing shows, and family members and good friends start showing up. When someone shows up with a book of Polaroids of, Ben, and like specifically wants to take you aside to show you these because they mean that much to them, then I think that's when we realize, okay, it validates it more for us, because at least for me, when I play, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm not sounding good tonight, or man, am I doing okay? Am I doing an okay job tonight? And then someone like Diane pulls you aside and says, oh my God, you guys are doing awesome. And what are you guys playing next? I can't wait to see you guys again. That is the entire reason why we play. That's it
Yeah.
for me.
for sure. That's so great.
Yeah,
Live
it
off
is
of
great
that.
because every time we've played the shows and she's there, she'll pull me aside and she always has another story. She's like, oh, here's about David, here's about this, and you're doing this. And it's just like,
Yeah.
that is awesome. And like Matt said, there's days where I'm playing and it's just like, man, I sucked. And she's like, but you got that feel like David and just doing it. I'm like, wow. It's such a compliment. And you ride that until the next show and it just gets better and better
Yep.
every time.
And another thing that happens also is, like, a lot of times after the shows, you'll run into people for the first time who are Cars fans. And they'll, sometimes the first thing you say, yeah, I saw you guys back in 1978. And when they say things like that, and you're kind of like, wow, we actually moved them to say, yeah, I saw you guys. And they know it wasn't us because it was the Cars. But if the
Right.
fact that you tricked them a little bit into thinking that, I think it's because we portray the music as well as we do. I think that is also, another reason why, like Matt said, when you touch people, even though we're not the band, when you touch people like that, you feel like it's such an accomplishment
Mhm.
that you just can't really get outside of doing what we're doing,
Yeah.
So
As a
Yeah.
musician, that's kind of like what you're in for, right? Unless you're doing it full time and you're a professional and you need the money, it's kind of the recognition that you get from people, where people pat you on the back, basically say, hey, great job, right? Even if you think yourself, oh my God, today sucked, like I messed all these things up or whatever, people are still coming, and the difference, over other bands, when you're like a generic cover band or so, the difference is that a lot of these people are fans, they know the music in and out,
Mhm.
and they still come and say, hey, that was great, it was just like on the record or whatever, and
Yeah.
that kind of just builds you up then, and that motivates you, to, okay, let's do another one of these. It's just fun. I don't think we ever had someone at a gig or online or whatever, give us any bad, reviews or whatever, so far, I think we can generally say everybody, 100% satisfied customers.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
we try and make sure everybody has a good time, and hopefully that our experience with the fans is not unique. Like I said, when we first got this started, I wasn't aware of any local Cars tribute bands, and there weren't many across the country at that point. There are many more today, especially after the induction into the Hall of Fame, than there were when we got started in 2013. And I hope that their experience is the same in these, whatever pockets of the country that they're keeping this music alive for. In some ways, it's the more the merrier. As long as people get a chance to, there are people that there are bands that we really connected with that were important to our lives when we were growing up, or that got us through a rough patch. And there are people out there who are Cars fans that they connected with those songs because they brought them through a time. And the more, because we're never, because we've lost Ben and now we've lost Rick, you're never going to see these songs live again from the real Cars. So, in some ways, it even furthers like, hey, we got to do this. We got to keep doing this, because these songs, deserve to continue to have a life.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you guys, I'm Don and I are big fans. You guys know that. But in talking with you during this time, I'm even more impressed with what you guys do. Like I said, I think you've got the right combination for a fitting tribute to the Cars, and your ideas and your philosophies of what you're doing that are behind it it makes it even better. That's why you guys are the best, whether you want to
like
take it or not.
And you like that is another really unique thing. And being a musician, I'm sure every one of you guys also had like your stories with other, just playing with other musicians, but the respect for for each and every one of the members of the band for each other is just amazing. I mean, we always have a good time no matter what we do. I don't think there's ever any drama. I don't think we ever have any drama. It's just, man, this is, for me, it's like a boys club. It's an excuse to get out and do something too. So there's so many good things about this band, with you guys, that, hey, I get to go spend some time with my friends, and so it's like, you got the friendship, you got the, being special to people, fans and stuff like that. Just there's so many things with this, and that's super cool.
Well, and your guys' wives are great friends too, right? They have, what do they call themselves?
Bandidos.
The Bandios.
The Bandios,
Yeah.
that's right.
That's right, yeah.
And so that's great too. And of course, especially when you guys came to Boston, you all traveled together and the wives came too. That had to have been so much fun.
Yeah, it was just like, it was a party time. It was like, we got there, we were getting psyched up for the show, you play the show, and then like, let's go stick around town, let's go see stuff. And we're on a little mini vacation, and hey, you guys want to meet up? We'll meet up for food. We're going to go try explore this area. We're going to go do this. Or if we're playing, sometimes we were in and out at shows, like if we just play for a day and we're out of town, the girls go and do their thing and we do our thing, and then we play, and then we all, get back together after the show. So yeah, it is.
It's Bob's van.
I'm sad to say, I'm worried about the future of that van. There is not much left of it. It just continues to fall. Pieces continue to fall into the driveway. The band rust bucket. So we've upgraded on the family side. I might have to start using that van.
Yeah, well, we got our van too. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, everybody's bought a van now.
Yeah, Bob's van is getting to the point where we're like, maybe we should pull the moving and stereo sticker off the van.
I have, because it's embarrassing.
I think we're kind of sorry, Bob. Someone
I'm
wait, the sticker was embarrassing because he left it on over the winter for 3 straight years, and it started to peel off of the bag.
I always had
the magnet matched really well.
It was embarrassing for the band to have that sticker on that van.
Yes.
What the hell kind of Cars tribute band is running around in that van?
There were a lot of things that were really cool about that Cleveland event. We've already talked about how there were a lot of Ben's friends and family there, and they were they stayed till the very end. They were so impressed. They were having so much fun, and they were excited to connect with the band. If you remember, one gal brought her grandson and wanted to come meet the band and go backstage and, have Danny, you guys talk to him about what it was like to be in a band and play guitar and all of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, there were a lot of Ben's former bandmates in the audience, people that had played with him when he was a teenager. And now they're getting to hear the music that made Ben famous. And I remember, do you guys remember the bass player from one of Ben's early bands, Johnny Doe? You guys invited him up to do the encore of Drive. Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
That was so special.
Well, he also came to one of our shows and brought one of Ben's basses. So Matt got to play one of his basses live, and I think we have the video.
I got a picture over here on my wall, actually. That was a lot of fun. He hung out for that whole show too, and he's like, "Oh no, you got to play it. You have to play this bass." And I'm like, I'm holding this thing, and I'm like, "Okay, I hope like the way I'm not going to do the instrument justice now." But it was a lot of
Ben's
fun.
hands were on that bass. No pressure.
Yeah, the book. Let's talk about that book signing a little bit. You mentioned a lot of stuff that went on there, and that was like, for me, that was the. We got to meet Joe. We met Joe at the thing, but we really got to, and see what he really put together. It was really important to us because we understood the importance of that book and what it meant to all of the family you talked about, all of the fans, all the people that have been waiting for this. Because when we got into moving in stereo, there was kind of like, hey, there's this book being written. And it was always like, it's coming out soon. It's coming out soon. And when it finally came out, it was a big deal. So we wanted to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that was like more validation for the band, because all these people showed up and nobody was like, "Oh, you guys did a pretty good job, I guess." It was none of that. Everybody was super nice. People wanted to, like you said, come back and talk to us. And that was really special for us.
They were
And
having an amazing time. I mean, I walked around looking at people, watching people. They're dancing, they're singing along. They are having just the time of their lives. They were loving it.
And I think we felt it too. And that's makes a good show, because when you feel that energy come back from a crowd, there's always, even for me, when you get out there on stage for that first 3 minutes, it's butterflies in your stomach, and you're not sure how the crowd's going to react, and you're not sure how you're going to play, and you're not sure how well your guitar player, your drummer, if I'm going to play well.
Or your keyboardist.
It just clicked, and it worked out it worked out awesome. And it's something I'll never forget. And I'm totally grateful for, to be able to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, there was nobody else we were going to hire for that gig. I mean, we knew from the beginning when we wanted to do a concert that it needed to be moving in stereo. And even though, I mean, the way the timing worked out, Noah wasn't able to be there. He had commitments with his kids, and Lars originally wasn't able to be there. We knew that you guys were still going to be able to represent the music amazingly with even just the 3 original members. And then it turns out Lars was able to be there, and it was so amazing, because instead of, kicking off the keyboard player that you had asked to fill in and who had rehearsed and prepared, instead Lars just was the ultimate host. He walked around greeting people, mingling with the crowd, and it was just so impressive how much integrity he had.
Yeah, I played the manager that night, I guess.
we did have him come up for
You were
some
the Roy Thomas Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thomas Baker.
Yeah.
And that's another part of it. Dan mentioned, like, he likes being in a band because we're all friends, we get along. It's because we don't act like, and in my opinion, sometimes, especially in like the cover music scene, there's these egos floating around.
Mm-hmm.
These people have been playing for 30, 40 years, and they're cock of the walk, and we just don't have that. So when we had to bring because there just wasn't an option for Noah, and at the last minute was an option for Lars, but it wasn't at the time. There wasn't any of that. Lars worked with the keyboard player and said, "All right, man, I need you to learn. Here's the parts you need to learn." He learned them. He helped walk him through it. Noah helped Brian. I mean, It was just like everybody's an adult about it, and made it work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was so great that night. Dave and I, when we talked about it after the show was over, we were just blown away. We were gushing over how amazing you guys did.
Gush is a strong word. What are you?
You were gushing.
He was.
Come on.
Gushing kind of insinuates that I don't. Gushing is what you do over Benjamin Orr.
Well, okay.
I wasn't
that's-
like, oh, no,
maybe gushing's not the right
Matt.
word.
Yeah, look at me.
No, you were like that about Bob. I got to sit right in front of Bob.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, Bob,
Yeah, you were like that.
I was your biggest fan both and in Boston because I was right in front of you both times.
That's
yeah.
right.
Hey, how often do you get that close to see a guitarist, do their stuff? I mean, that was
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's pretty freaking amazing.
Yes.
Well, let's move on to Boston for just a minute. When it came time for me to book that show, I mean, especially after the success of Cleveland, but I mean, still, we just could not imagine having any other band play. And we knew it was a far drive for you guys, that you would have to make a lot of concessions, but I was so grateful that you guys were willing and eager to be a part of the Boston event if you could. You guys, especially, working through Bob to get you guys booked and all of that, were just so gracious to me, because you guys had the drive, you had to figure out hotel stays and all of that stuff, and you just made it so easy on me. You took care of all of that and were so you just were so supportive of the event, which of course just made my job that much easier. And then of course at that event we did have, more of Ben's friends and family there, particularly the women in his life, which was awesome. But how absolutely cool was it to have David Robinson join us in the audience and stay for the entire show?
It was a great experience, but I do recall when you came over, you're like, hey, I just want to let you know that David's gonna be here. And as I'm setting up, I'm like, Dave who? And you're like, Robinson. I'm like, oh crap.
Just nerve-wracking and amazing.
I was
I beeline to my wife and I'm like, holy shit, do you know what's gonna go on? She's like, you're just gonna play. I'm like, there's a little difference, but it was a great experience, and just playing and looking and just seeing him, and he's just like nodding along. I'm like, okay, so I'm doing something right, except for one thing that I didn't get called out on.
That's right. He called you out on the hi-hat lift on Touch and Go.
On Touch and Go, because again, being in the odd time signature, I'm like, shit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm like, I'm gonna get it. The one little lift. I'm just like, I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Well, we found out about it the day before or the day of that David was going to be there.
I think it was the day
The day off.
It was the day
So,
off, yeah.
We were riding Noah pretty hard.
Oh.
We're like, man, I hope you forgot the suck pedal tonight, man.
I know I was freaking out a little bit, but one thing I have to say though is having all those things in play, having Ben's family there and former wives, and having David there, and then Diane, and then there was a guy that was working on that album with Elliot. I mean, there was a lot of Cars, one degree or less, and I felt like we went out there and killed it. I felt like we really had a good show.
Diane came out to grab my hands after I remember she walked up on stage and she's like, she took my hands, I held my hands, and she's like, you did an awesome job. Because I was getting sick the day of the show, because every time I travel, I always get a cold. Every time I travel. And I was starting to get that thing in my throat. And I'm like, man, here we go. Got all these people here in the crowd, and I'm going to struggle tonight. And I did for the first half of the show. And then she just came up after, she grabbed my hand. She said, you did such an awesome job. And I was like, okay, well, now I can breathe, because the whole time you just don't know, because there's so much energy on stage. That stage was tiny. It was this little stage. They had a subwoofer underneath it. So anytime I felt, anytime Noah hit the kick drum, it went straight up my ass. It was my bass. Anytime I had a bass string, it was right up my ass all night long. And as soon as we got done playing, it was finally everybody, like Noah. Remember when Dave's like, you missed that hi-hat lift on Touch and Go, but he was busting your balls. We just knew it was awesome. It was I knew like we did a good job.
And
well, and that's the thing. You had Diane Page right there in front. Judith was right there. I mean, they were loving it. They were into it. And and she was so impressed when you did Drive. She was in tears when you did Drive.
I was like, really? I'm like, I was in tears.
Was that bad?
No, it wasn't that bad. Not
No, I think Matt, I think I know the part you're talking about when she came up and did that because, you know, it was kind of my job to keep tabs on her, make sure she was okay, get her whatever she needed, and she got up on the chair to get up on the stage. I think,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah, and
oh,
it-
holy crap!
I was like, holy, and it like totally took me by surprise. I'm like, and then she was just like, you know, she was, you know, very genuine and sincere. And I don't know, I was
Very
just like,
elegant
okay,
lady.
good. And this is worth it. That's all I needed to hear. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm good.
You know what was really cool though is for me that Benjamin Orr the Lace album was. I have so many memories just tied in with that album. You know, like a summer, and you know, just like we have with all albums. It was really just to meet her and know that she was part of that album. That just was,
Yeah.
you know, really cool part of my, you know, memories.
I thought it was great because when we first heard that David was going to be there, most of the news that we were getting was, you know, David's coming. He doesn't do these things very often. He may just come and catch a song or two and then leave. So don't take that as anything personally if he like leaves.
Yeah,
in
he
the middle
told
of
us
your
sit down in the basement. He said, "Hey, you know, I'm probably only gonna be here for 15 minutes." So, and we were like, "Hey, you know what, Dave? The fact that you're here at all and we're getting to meet you, you could, you know, is enough for us, you know."
Yeah, and that.
Well, and it was so nice
it-
because
not
Mhm.
Dave and I, when we were in his shop earlier in the day, he said to me that he wanted to make sure to let the band know that he probably wasn't going to stay for the whole thing, that if he got up and walked out, it wasn't personal,
Correct.
that he just doesn't do events like that. And it was important to him to make sure that the band knew that, you know, that he probably wasn't going to stay there. But he stayed.
and
Yeah.
and then he watched our whole
Yeah.
set, and then we took a break, and that's when Joe brought you up on stage, and then we came back out and played a couple songs. I look over there, and there's Dave.
Mhm.
He's still
He
He was
sitting
still
there.
there.
And guess
Yeah.
what? Our public relations team of our wives were hanging out with Dave. You know, they were all, no, there's like more pictures of them with Dave than us with Dave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are all these pictures from? Oh, we were hanging out with him like between sets and we were yelling and we go over to his table and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay,
And
you're a
he
team
had
at
a-
work.
He had,
But it
a,
wa-
he had a great time. He had a great
Yeah.
time.
He
it,
did.
it was awesome when he came down and into the green room, and
Yes.
that was the first and only time I think I saw Bob actually speechless. It was
Yeah,
twice he's
I-
ever been.
My name's Bob.
I was a little taken aback by my behavior as well. I was like, what? How this usually goes for me.
He totally posed for pictures and everything. It was so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It was
He
great.
was so personal. He just came in and loved to
Yeah.
see you guys.
Yeah, he was.
Very.
Yeah, I do got to say though, like the next day, I got a message from David's brother because I'm Facebook friends with him, and we chat drums every now and then. But you know, very respectful, give him his space because you know the family. You don't want to be a fan and go, "Tell me everything about your brother. I got a question for this. Can you ask him that?" But he's like, "Yeah, my brother said you guys did a really good job. He doesn't go to these things very often, but he said you guys did a good job." And that I was just like. It just blew me away. I was like,
That's great.
He said
he didn't
when
have
the-
to go out of his way to send me that little
No.
message, and I'm just like, wow.
that's when we knew it was really real.
Like-
Because even when we got done, he goes, "You guys really did a good job." He goes, "I'll tell you one thing: your backing vocals are better than ours."
Didn't he say to one of you, he talked about how you played certain things that actually weren't on, he never played
Yeah.
live, but they were on the album. He was impressed that you guys had covered it.
Yeah, I try to take a mix of like some of the things on the albums and some of the things they do live, and just kind of bring in what you hear the most. And yeah, he said like, I didn't think you'd be able to pull that off because I didn't do it on this, but I did it here. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I try.
So great.
Yeah, and these are all validating things. And I'll make it real quick. I lucked out. We went on a music cruise, me and the wife. Todd
Oh,
Rundgren was playing.
yes.
So, Greg was on the thing, and we were standing at the bar upstairs on one of the bars. And we're like, oh, hey, look, it's the drink of the day. They always have like a drink of the day. It's like a Mai Tai. And I turn around, and these two people walk up, and I'm like, I think that's Greg Hawkes, babe. She's like, no, really? And I walked over. I'm like, hey, what's going on, Greg? He goes, oh, hey. I go, I'm Matt with Moving Stereo. He goes, oh yeah, I know you guys watch your videos all the time. They're really good and stuff. And then her and my wife became fast friends for the whole trip.
So
So I'm running. They want
Love it.
Starbucks. Got to go get Starbucks. So they've been friends ever. It's those things are validating, man. I mean, like you think, okay, am I? Sometimes you do. You know, if you play a couple shows and you feel like you didn't do real well and you're wondering how things are going, those are the validating things. You know, when someone, a member of the band is like, you guys do really awesome.
oh yeah.
And early on, when we first got this together, I mean, I know Matt and I, we had this conversation. We're like, do we even know that the Cars want a tribute band?
Right.
You know what I mean? You just think like you just get into it and you do it and you put the work in and you start playing and then one day you wake up and go, oh, these were covered. There's real people out there that wrote these songs, that perform these songs, that we're doing it now. Like, how do they even, would they even want this? And I think that our answer's been yeah. And that's been the most validating thing, is that not only do they think you're doing a good job, nobody's told us to stop.
Right. Yeah, that's so great. I remember seeing the videos and photos from that cruise. That was with Todd Rundgren, I think, right? Yeah, it was the Todd Rundgren cruise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't believe he ditched
He
us
would
for
wave at us from
Todd.
the stage. He would-
Rundgren.
Yeah, he'd be up there.
that?
Playing, he'd notice, he'd recognize Natalie, and he'd be like, while he's playing, he'd be like, I mean, it's so weird. It's like, it's not even real. It's like, being surreal. He'd wave at us. We'd pass him. I think like, oh, what do you guys do? Oh yeah. And talk for 5 minutes, split. We'd keep seeing him over and over. We'd hang out before the show. It was just,
That's so great.
there's two things that happened. There's 3 or 4 things that happened in this band that made it worthwhile. One was Danny joining the band, period. That was the first thing where we're like, okay, I think we got it now, like finally. And then both the book events, and then for me personally was when I was on that cruise. Those 4 things were like, whenever you start thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the music justice? Because any good musician will constantly run their performances through. It's just how you are. And sometimes you think, man, maybe I could do a better job. I don't think I'm doing it. And then these things happen. They're like little milestones on the journey in the band. It
Yeah.
completely makes it out.
And the
Yeah.
great thing is we haven't played our best gig yet. And that day's,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, we're in-
always striving for it.
Yeah, we're in the process of trying to make it better. We're going to be going to doing our own sound with in-ears now, and that way there we get on stage and everything is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
You know, because a lot of musicians, you get up on stage and they may have a monitor and they just can't dial the volume in that you need because it's going to start whistling at you and next thing you know you're screaming and you're not doing so
You
we're gonna
can't
control
dial
that.
in the volume that you need.
I don't think anyone can. Over the
No.
high end.
No, anyway, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so we're enhancing the band even more sound wise. I think when we get done and we start playing, what is it, a couple of months, guys?
And July.
July,
July
yeah.
25th.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
Music
July
Box.
25th, and then we've got Portsmouth Labor Day weekend, and then we've got one more in there somewhere too, don't we?
Maslin. And also
Maslin.
yeah.
But these are all in Ohio.
August.
These are all within the one's about 3 or 4 hours away. It's kind of on the Ohio River, and then everything else is pretty regionally local. But we're coming out of COVID, and you got to understand. Since last show we played was in February of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and
And we hadn't been
the
in the
last
same
time we
room
recorded,
together.
the last time we played was when we recorded Your Open. That's the
Oh,
first
wow.
time we.
Yeah.
I'm
Knocked
telling
the
you,
roast
first
off
time
on that one.
we all weren't in the room. We did our, me and drums and bass, guitars, vocals separately. So our first real practice is next week.
Oh, wow.
Since we played that show in February, because we just couldn't take a chance because it wasn't safe. And I don't want to. I know different people think different ways about COVID, but we wouldn't have done our venues or our fans justice by not doing what's being asked. So we figured we're getting vaccinated and we're going to go and do it. Yeah, we
If
figured
one
let's
fan
do
was
it.
going to be uncomfortable, that was enough to not
Exactly.
do
Yeah,
it.
but
And
Let's just
We
do it.
basically declined contracts at the beginning of the year because
Yeah.
we didn't know where things were going and we haven't practiced in a year, so we were like, we're not going to take a show, unless we know, we can practice, we're going to get back to where we were.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
have
you can do
we
it
have
right.
3 healthcare workers in the group, so
Yeah.
soon to be 4 with with Noah. So that was another consideration of just keeping, the wives safe.
Mhm.
That because they had an important job to do, so we had to take that all into consideration. We absolutely 100% made the right decision, and we really can't wait to get back out there with the fans.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
I'm sure that people can't wait to get out and see live music. I mean, I think that's one thing that people really realized that they missed during this pandemic was getting to hear live music. There's just something about it that's so different. So I have a feeling that it's
I
going to be a
think it,
great show.
I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm trying to. I'm not trying to naysay too much, but it's going to be interesting to see how soon people are going to be comfortable with getting back out in force, and that I think that we're
Yeah.
going to find that it's maybe they won't be sellouts, but I'll tell you that we're going to play like it was.
Yeah, I bet.
That's we're to whoever's there, we're going to give them a show.
So you have the Music Box Supper Club on the 25th of July, and then you're going to be adding more shows.
Yeah. And we'll have a FIA at the end of the year that we talked about earlier, the trade show. So that'll be on there. That's even though that's basically we're not getting paid, we pay to be part of it. So you can showcase what you can do.
Right.
That's how you get those festivals and those things. That's I think in November or something. So that we treat it like a gig too. We have to, because there's more at stake there, I guess, financially. Throughout the year, it's kind of setting up what you're going to do the next year.
Right.
So,
2022.
Yeah.
Dave, do you have anything else you want to ask? I know I kind of led the charge there, but is there anything you wanted to cover that we did?
Oh, can I unmute now?
Oh,
Hey, who's that? Is that Dave?
I'm sorry.
Hey, man.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do have a co-host.
You do. No,
Sorry, I
that's
just
all
get so
right.
excited.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Well, I know that we kind of have to wrap things up here, but there's one thing I wanted to make sure and bring up to you gentlemen, and that is you both, or you all know that Donna and I would kill for a Moving in Stereo shirt, right, Donna?
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm. So here's what I'm proposing, gentlemen. Here's what I'm proposing. I'm not proposing that you go out and start merchandising, get into all that. I'm proposing that one of you send me that kick-ass graphic that's behind Lars in that. Let me put it on 2 shirts, one for me and one for Donna, and that be the end.
Well,
Hold on, I'm going to interrupt you.
We'll do better. We'll do better than that. Take it, Matt.
Yeah, yesterday
we talked about this yesterday.
We talked about it yesterday. So we're getting swag made. So we're getting T-shirts made.
Oh, you are.
We are getting it, and you guys, it would have it would have been more of a surprise to just have them show up in the mail. But yes, you guys are guaranteed shirts on their first run of shirts.
Wow.
So you guys are going to get logo on a shirt behind, and that will be sent to both of you.
Oh,
Why?
like
Because
a half
oh
tee.
my gosh.
we're happy to give it.
Half tee that's mesh.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, hey guys, David, Donna, and something we wanted to ask you is for your night thoughts, we would like to get some T-shirts from you guys.
You got
oh,
it.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Oh, we'll do a trade.
and also,
great.
I want Donna's panorama shoes.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't think
That's a tough
yeah,
one.
that's
That's
Well, that's
not
the end of the
gonna
podcast, folks. Sorry
happen.
about that.
Sorry.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Well,
word.
well, that being said, I do have to run. We've got company coming here in about 90 minutes, and I've got to start.
No,
dinner.
no problem.
All
Sorry.
right, so we'll get together and exchange addresses and get all that
Yeah.
stuff going.
Well, thanks for
And,
having us.
yeah.
Guys.
Yeah. Well,
Very
thanks
much.
for being on.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. We've been wanting to do this for so long. And I can't remember which one of you actually got the ball rolling, but I'm so glad.
Lars
that you-
did.
Yeah,
Lars? Okay.
That's a
we've
large
been
thing to
talking
do.
it forever,
Lars is the
so
pilot. Lars
I
is-
know.
Yeah, Lars is the pilot flame of this oven that we have. He's always like, anytime if anything gets sent out, it's Lars instigates it usually. So
And
Good man.
I'm the cat chasing a string.
yes,
yes.
No, I think it's perfect. I think it's good timing too, since you guys are getting back on the stage. We want people to know where they can see you, and oh gosh, they have to go see you and catch a show if they want to hear Cars music. So, where can they find out more information?
what's the
Thank you.
website, Lars?
www.movinginstereo.band.
Dot
Yes.
band.
There's a dot between there. Just yeah, moving in stereo dot band.
And if you're on Facebook, there's, like I said, there's multiple Moving in Stereos. I mean, feel free to like them all. We're the one from Ohio. So
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having us, and
Thanks.
I'm really thankful that we got a chance to do this and talk cars for about 90 minutes.
Me
Yeah.
too. Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much. And Bob, I keep meaning to catch you on one of those trivia nights.
Oh, our trivia on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
did that. You know, the live nose waxing didn't get the response that we thought, so we can't. The show got canceled.
Wow, I wonder
ratings
why.
came back and
That's so odd. Well, when you're doing a trivia night again, I really want to try to
All right.
participate. I love that kind of thing.
Ab-
and
Ab-
come in late
absolutely, we'll
before.
make sure to give away some of those laser enemas.
Oh, ooh,
Yeah,
sounds-
awesome.
wow.
Hey, well, thanks to everyone for
Yes,
listening.
thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks for having us.
everyone we'll actually talk about more of the cars stuff next time. So have us on again, and I'm sure we got tons
Yeah.
more.
much.
Got it.
Yeah, would
But the
love
music-
it.
All right.
Love to talk about the cars.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Donna.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good.
Bye.